Welcome back. This is INFJ at midnight. No, it's not, but it's true. I am an INFJ, and it is not midnight. It's only been 30 minutes. Look at that. So, I don't know if you know this. I'm going to assume that you probably know this, but there's a full moon tonight, and there's a lot of wives' tales, but there's also a lot of science. Separately and yet together, Wonder Twin powers activate. Yes, the full moon does have an effect on the human body. And one of those things that it does for some of us, for quote unquote night owls, is it wakes us up and it energizes us. How does it energize us, you might ask? Well, the same push and pull, ebb and flow effect, the sort of magnetic effect that the moon has on the ocean, it actually has on our endocrine system and our blood flow, meaning blood pressure. Your blood pressure is actually affected by literally the full moon when it is hanging low. And nobody wanted to hear this. I say this because number one watcher has left me with a big 0 in my heart. No, it's okay. We'll live. So I find it really interesting how every time this happens, I'm just so I can do that for such a long time, and it just because it just energizes you, it gets you right up, it keeps you awake. You cannot go to sleep. That is one of the reasons why YouTube is such a great thing, because at any one time at night, hi person watching me right now, hey, literally there's somebody else somewhere in the world watching you right now, just as awake, just as way too freaking hyper awake as you are right now. When is my last cup of coffee that I have had? You might ask. When did it happen? It happened at about 4 p.m. This is not coffee. This is the full moon, and this is the sad but true effects of nerds and YouTube at 11:38 p.m. No offense if you're watching this. In fact, I venerate you to a godlike status for being here. Thank you so much, people who are here. I hope that you are not touching yourselves at this time and simply just watching the camera. I don't know if you've seen a show called The Guild, but basically it was done by somebody named Felicia Day, whose name sounds kind of like a black poetess, but it's the opposite of that. Actually, she might be a poetess. I don't know. Anyways, she's pretty great. She has produced her own show and ran for about 5 seasons, meaning 5 years. It was the largest self-produced show on television for a very long time. It might still actually be in the history books. And you will be able to find it on Amazon. You'll be able to find it on Netflix. I'm rewatching it for like the third or fourth time on Netflix. And I was actually just remarking in my last video how it's really interesting how sometimes there's that simulacrum or simulation, or there's that feeling of art acting like life and life imitating art acting like life, because I've always shrugged it off every time somebody told me that I should try watching this show. I always thought, nah, I don't know, I'm just not interested. And then a year later, since starting this channel, I started watching the show called The Guild, and it turns out the show called The Guild is basically someone who is like me, who is bubbly, who's hi there, hi, hello, thank you for being here. That's a really cool name. So the show is about a woman who's like me, who's bubbly, who's basically a happy person, who's in a really shitty position, and they're doing everything they can to get out of it. Specifically, what happens is one day she's playing her online game, which they go back and forth between saying is turn-based game versus an adventure role-play game, which is pretty different. If you've ever played Legend of Zelda, that is nothing like playing any other game where it asks you if you would like to hit someone. Okay, so it's just you press a button and you do stuff versus would you like to, yeah, it's totally different. But anyways, they go back and forth between saying exactly what kind of a game it is, but she's online, she's talking to her therapist at the same time, and her therapist dumps her because her therapist feels like she's not trying to get out into the world, and she feels like she's causing herself to actually sort of decay in her own problems. So she's a failed violinist, she's in Los Angeles, her credit, whatever debt is through the roof. She's all by herself, and she's sad and she's lonely. And then she starts having these problems when all of a sudden, after her, person, just totally dumps her like that, she gets this knock, knock, knock on the door. And it turns out it's the fellow player from their guild who they haven't seen log on in like 48 hours. He's there at the door. He's thinking because she answered a couple of his questions with a little winky face, it meant that she was all like, ooh la la, when in actuality she was not. She was just winky face, thanks for mining that gold for me. It was just like, not a big deal to her. But he thought that it meant that she loved him. And so, hi, um, well, my mom was from Costa Rica and my dad was from Italy, and I'm originally from Massachusetts. And I also speak Japanese. I'm really into language. I'm actually an ESL teacher, which, by the way, you don't necessarily make money as an ESL teacher, just FYI. Uh, I mean, I'm on Preply, I'm on Palfish, and I made about $36 with Palfish, and that was working like 18, 20-hour weeks, and Preply about the same thing. Actually, I've made less with Preply now I think about it because I've been with them slightly longer than I was actively with Palfish, although technically I can't be separated from Palfish because they won't allow me to actually delete all of my information off of Palfish, so technically I am still there. I can't believe how many times I just said Palfish. Yes, I did do a rather negative video about Palfish that surprisingly has gotten almost 100 views, but apparently that's the way that it works. So in case you weren't here earlier, and hey, there was 3 people here a second ago and then they left. At number 3, beside the little people heads in the corner. It's just interesting how a year after I started filming this, my YouTube channel, sharing with people my life as my mom was diagnosed for the final time in her life with cancer. Hey, thanks for subscribing. Um, I've been filming as I've been going along, as I started different campaigns and fundraisers to try and help her get to Australia, as I tried to help her get to better places in the U.S. As I've tried to do different things to try and make my life better, and succeeded sometimes and failed some other times. I've been doing this video and sharing with everybody out there, everyone that I could possibly reach, because I actually really love that idea. It's really cathartic because everyone has really great ideas, and I can't wait to hear the ideas that other people have. I think that everyone is to some small degree a genius because you have all the same tools that any of the famous geniuses in history have ever had. You have your brain, and you have your spirit or your soul, whatever you might believe that that is. You also have one other thing that none of them had. You have you. And so I feel like if there's something that I'm missing or a really great idea that's out there that I'm not having, somebody else might have it and they might share it. And if not, maybe I have a great idea that I am able to share and it helps them. So, anyways, I just started watching this show called The Guild, and it turns out it's the same exact thing. This woman is going through shit in her life and she realizes that she needs to talk to someone. So she turns on her camera on purpose. She turns it on accidentally at the very beginning of the show, and so we're able to catch her phone call. Then she decides to turn it on purpose because no one will talk to her anymore. And then it turns out that instead of no one talking to her, she realizes already 5 kind of prepped friends that are right there in her guild that she's been playing with virtually for all this time. And so she figures out ways to kind of help them actually interact with each other and talk with each other, and they realize after a little while that actually they're really close friends. It's a really, really funny show, but it's so weird to watch someone else who is pretending the situation that in a lot of other ways is way more fun than my situation, have such a hard time and have such big reactions to it, because I've just gone through so much big, really terrifying stuff, especially the past 2 years, even more so than the past 5 years, that I think it would freak some people out. I've seen all kinds of things. I've seen just in one of the units that my mom was in alone. It was the um, post-surgical unit for people who had basically almost died while they were on the table, and they were all thrown together. And I'm sorry that I scared anyone just now because another person just went away. So it's just you and me, number one person watching this right now. But I mean, I've seen all kinds of stuff. But this girl in the show, she's crying and she's bawling her eyeballs out because the microphone is out of tune and it sounds really scratchy and bad while she's trying to play her game and talk to her friends. That's so endearing to me right now. I love that. I love something about that. But yeah, it's a full moon right now, and it's also the 8th. I love the number 4, I love the number 2, and I love the number 8. So it's especially really, really great for me. It's a special night, and it's about to be the 9th, which is a whole other thing. But I wanted to share with you guys the idea and the truth, and maybe get you guys like interested in looking it up on Google about how the full moon affects you. Because for all you know, right now you're awake and maybe you have some really great ideas. They're just bubbling at the surface that you haven't had the time to get into yet. Personally, I've been really much more creative lately, and I was trying to figure out why. And now I finally get it because I wasn't keeping track of the moon cycle, and I looked outside earlier today and I was like, oh, I get it now. Because just suddenly I've been coming up with all this stuff, and this really great stuff happened. Like I ran to the Ren Fair, which I keep bringing up. But it was a really big deal because I've met all these different people that love the same things that we love, you and me, person watching this. And yeah, I came up with really great art, and they really enjoyed it, and they really loved it. And then someone contacted me, and they offered me a chance to be an illustrator for their kids' book. So every day I'm trying to put up new art and new interesting things on an Instagram account, which I didn't do anything Instagrammy before that, with the exception of trying to tell people about my mom to try and help her. And and I'm on there putting up art whenever I can. And then I've got my YouTube channel and this really awesome, friendly person from the Renaissance Fair named Maria. She helped me and she gave me some information and she asked me, like where she could see me act. And I went, yeah, why not go to my YouTube? So then I did all these different videos actually acting out the stories and true full on, full makeup, full costume storytelling, telling some of the different stories from my art because I create art and I'm a character designer. And that's character designing is kind of the secondary thing to the acting because I did acting and modeling for like 20 years. Believe it or not, I'm a little bit older than I seem. And not much, but still. And it's just been like a lot of really great, cool things happening one after another. And then, and this is the really crazy thing, I did a little bit of clearing. I did it according to feng shui, the way that you're supposed to do it. And I went clockwise in the room and I put family pictures up in one corner and I took down some different things I didn't even realize were kind of destructive, at least according to feng shui. And then literally the next day, my house was sold, which is a good thing because we're trying to move out. And then, bam, now the house is sold. And it's been a whirlwind since I started clearing specifically with the rules from a book called Creating Sacred Space with Feng Shui. And I didn't expect so much to happen, but whoa, it's actually been kind of overwhelming. Like, this is too much stuff happening right now in the world. And yeah, other things that I've been waiting on to happen that I've been trying to make happen and then fall down, trying to make happen and fall down, suddenly happened. Someone walked up to me and they went, "Hey, let me buy you your new glasses." Okay, sure, buy me the new glasses. And then that happened. So it's really great when things start happening for you, but it can be really, really overwhelming and it can start to get depressing when you're living with someone who is kind of the 13 dwarves, one of them was grumpy. I like that. And that's not who I am. I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of bubbly. I kind of speak a little bit fast, a little bit too fast sometimes. And I like to create things. I like to try and stay calm. Like this doesn't really seem calm, but it is calm. It's like positive, happy, calm. And so it's really different. I know what you're thinking. She keeps doing this with her nose, so clearly she's on something. Actually, this is called allergies. I turned on my fan, and it's like the fan is blowing allergies through the room. But yeah, so here's some other ideas that I don't know if you're thinking about. I decided to try. I'm going to try and make my own tarot deck. I know that sounds really weird. If you don't know what tarot is, or you do know what tarot is, or you have some preconceived notions about how dark it could be or isn't. The truth is, it's just another tool, and it all depends on how you use it. And if you want to use it to scare people, you can do that. If you want to make dark, scary art and put it on, superimpose all these dark, scary art pictures on top of your tarot deck, then you can do that too. Or if you just like it because you like the combination of historical accuracy and references and the more like arcane knowledge, type of interesting stuff, then you can like it from that point of view. That's the point of view that I like it from. I'm a historian, I'm an artist, I enjoy it. I enjoy looking at it mostly. I don't actually do it. I've never actually done it. I have done runes. Runes work for me. I love runes. Specifically, I use Odin's rune. Odin's was, or you might not believe this, but the story is that basically to really just all into one little bite. Umkashi, once upon a time, there was a Norse god. He journeyed from the west, which was actually from outside of the planet itself. It was west, roughly, of the planet itself. And after a giant battle, yep, after a giant battle with giants, destroying them, the remnants of their body created what we know as Earth. The large rocks, very, very, very large rocks or stones, or Stonehenge, for instance, are supposed to be like their knuckles, and the grass, their hair, and so on and so forth. It was created by them. And then after that, after some trials and tribulations, he was very tired from many days of walking and his betrayals from his family, most of whom he literally created from thoughts and words and ideas that were whispered upon the wind and blah, 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 blah. And he was made to hang upside down in a tree in the same pose as Jesus. Only it was upside down in a tree. And don't worry, we're almost done with the story. And he traced on the very surface of the pond where he was upside down, hanging over, the shapes of the Ogum and the runes. The Ogum is the original language of the Druids. The runes are the secondary language of the Druids and the original language of the Irish, of the, well, a couple of them, of the Pictish, and of the Kells, and of the Scots. And the Kells, if I remember correctly, are directly related to the Scots, and the Druids are directly related to all of them, and they all retired to the Isle of Wight and into the mist and stuff that I don't remember. If you would like to remember these things and actually be able to tell the story well, I say to you now, look up a library or go somewhere, people. Go somewhere, read something. You know that you can. I know that you can. So, anyways, more or less, that's the story of Odin's Rune. He, after many trials and tribulations and winning the world and saving the world from the giants and actually creating the world with the bodily leftovers of the giants, was betrayed by family members and eventually made to hang upside down in a tree. And while hanging upside down in the tree, over a pond, traced upon the top layer of the pond, the shapes and the letters and the words that would become the Ogum and the runes. The runes were actually used to write things that are close to sentences or non-phrasal sentences, or maybe just short phrases. It wouldn't be like, hey, look at me, I'm reading the runes. You wouldn't be able to write that in runes, but you could write short phrases, a couple of words that were meant to beget a certain meaning. So, anyways, that's the runes, and you can use runes for divination purposes. And personally, that's one of the reasons why I love them. I saved up a long time ago, and I actually got my own rune set made up. They were created by this family that actually makes stuff on the spot that you hire them to make, and they make like blessed objects and stuff, including runes and a lot of other things from the trees in their backyard. And it's really, really cool. And it's my personal set. Literally, is my personal set. Nobody else's set like that because it is mine. And it's made out of cedar wood, and it's really, really cool. And anyways, usually I use Odin's rune for that, and I was just thinking that I could do that right now on camera, and I was thinking that might be pretty cool. Then I'll be able to explain to you how it is that Odin's rune works. So now you get to see what Odin's rune looks like. Hang on. If you didn't know this, Christians think this is kind of like devil speak or devil worship. I'm not worshiping anybody. I'm not speaking to anybody. In fact, I totally believe this is my subconscious helping me to figure out what the right answer is. So I have a couple of jobs coming up, but I have an old job that I could go back to apply to. They reached out to me, they asked for me to take the position, and I turned them down for various reasons. Whereas the other one is one that I really don't want, but it's right nearby. But here's the catch, I'm moving in 30 days. I won't be right nearby. Should I even bother to take it? I don't know. These are the rooms. They're in here. Let me show you what the rooms look like. These are what rooms look like. See? There's the blank side. And so some people see an N when they see this, some people see an H. I believe this one's called IZOD or EZ. Let's see what else we have here. This is literally where we get the letter M from. A lot of our different letters. Anglican? I can't remember my words tonight. I blame the full moon. Actually come from runes as well. The letter Y actually comes from this rune, for instance. Although some people say that it looks a lot like Odin himself, if you turn it upside down, it would look like he looked hanging over the water. Okay, so these are runes. This is an ancient alphabet system. It is Celtic in nature, in origin. It came about roughly around the same time as the Ogham, although afterwards the Ogham predates the runes. The Ogham is a little bit more complicated. And right now what I'm doing is something called getting acquainted with the runes, more or less. You just let your fingers go around the runes and you think about the thing that you're asking. And then here's how Odin's rune actually works. At the end of me posing my question out loud, I will stop rummaging around. I will pick out a certain rune. I will not know what the rune is or if it's turned face up or face down. And if the rune is turned face up, then the answer is yes, or the answer is positive. If the rune is turned face down, then the answer is negative, or the answer is no. Think of it like this. If the light is on, can you see the rune? Yes. If the light is off, can you see the rune? No. So if the rune is facing away from you, that's like the light being turned off. If the rune is facing you, then it's like the light being turned on. It's like daytime. It's like yes. It's like go. It's like green. Whereas the other way, it's like red. It's like stop. It's like don't look. It's like not in the face. So don't worry about it. Okay. Okay. So here is my question. Should I take this job in my current town? Wait, that's not a good idea. That's not, because it's going to go bad places. Okay. Should I apply for this job that I'm thinking about involving burgers in this town this Monday, which is in 1 minute from now? Should I apply for this job? Should I finish my application process for this job in my town this Monday? Hold a rune. And it's blank. So you know what that means? The answer is no. So I know that might seem really, 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 really random, but here's the reason why I believe it works. Before I applied for Palfish, before I applied for Preply, I asked the runes if I should apply for Preply or Palfish, and the runes said no. Then I did a more traditional reading where it's 4 runes, and the runes said hardship, difficulty, confusion, depression. And the way that particular 4-in-1 works is that the very last one somehow, or maybe it was 5, but anyways, it was like all that stuff and then the word no. And I thought, that must be wrong. So I did it again. And it said, with 4 separate runes being upside down or in different directions that mean no, 4 separate times. I thought, this doesn't make any sense. How can it still be no? So I did it one last time, and it said basically Gain, short term, happiness, limited, stopping oneself, do not start. And I thought, this is uncanny. This can't be real. This can't be right. And so you know what I did, ladies and gentlemen, humans, folks? I applied. And the application process takes around 2 months. And it was really difficult, and it was really hellish, and it was really long, and it did have a short-term gain, and it was happy for a short amount of time, and I wish I hadn't have started doing it. But you know what? I used these things. I used the runes. The runes told me, do not do this thing. Do not go in there. No means no. Turn off the light. Not in the face. Blah, 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 blah. And I completely ignored it. I rarely ever do those big, long readings where it's like 4 or 5 runes in a row, and each and every one said, don't do this thing. This is not a good idea. And I did anyway. And you know what happened? Shit happened. Literally. It was just bad. It's been bad. And so, you know what? I'm going to listen to it. And it's saying, don't start this job that is in the town you are in right now, that you are leaving in the next 30 days. And the brash part of me wants to do it just so I have some money coming in during this time, and so I don't have to focus completely on the move. But these guys, who so far have always proved me right and served me well, just said right now on camera in front of you, don't go in there. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go in there. Dear Rune, should I try and make a tarot deck now? So that's the way runes work. I don't know if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, but I love all that kind of stuff. Meaning, specifically, I love learning about divination. I don't necessarily actually practice it. In fact, this is the only divination I actually practice. I'm interested in a lot of arcane old stuff, and I know a lot of people are not. And some people are really fine with the cartoony, fun, pretend version of it. And for me, it's really not enough. Like Lord of the Rings and Zelda and Harry Potter, they're all lots of fun, but they're fake, they're pretend, they're joyous, but it's like the difference between doing a ring around the rosy and doing a chant with a whole bunch of people that believe as you do, or making a drawing of a temple versus actually going to a church, being surrounded by people singing in harmony. Like one is a nice pretend fun thing, and then the other thing is real stuff that actually has some sort of real world application. So an interesting thing to know is I'm getting this picture of someone shaking their head no, like maybe I shouldn't be doing this. I really want to tell you guys about something that I'm doing right now in my life. It's something that I'm studying at the same time that I mean, I rarely ever do this. This isn't a fun thing, so I don't do this all the time. But you know, there's just so much stuff going on right now, and I feel like I want to be my whole self instead of like a partial part of myself. And I want to go back to studying stuff like this. This makes me happy. This makes me interested, and this serves me really well. The other stuff that I've been studying, not so much. But when I study that other stuff, I have really great people in my life, and I really love and appreciate those people. So it's weird to try and balance the two. And if you think that you know what I'm talking about, I invite you to tell me what you think you know that I'm talking about. If you're ever interested in seeing lots of different character design and new art every single day, and someone dressed up in full costume and makeup telling stories like a straight up traditional bard, check out my YouTube on a regular basis, and also check out my Instagram, which is magic@gmail.com. And here, I'll show you now. Magic.beauty. This is my Instagram. That's my Instagram. And all I do is I put up art. Every single time I finish a piece of art, it goes up there. Every time I create a new piece of, you know, a new sweater or jacket or t-shirt or whatever on Teespring, it goes up there. And so on and so forth. Also, check out my Teespring. Remind me to put a link in the description over here. Okay. Anyways, I love you guys. Try to open your mind a little bit, even to the things that don't necessarily make sense. And consider this: there's roughly 1% of every bunny in every country is an indigo child. And roughly 1% of each person in every country is an INFJ. And roughly 1% of everybody in every country is someone who's watching this video right now. The chances that you're watching this video right now and that you are not an indigo child or an INFJ, to me, is supremely suspect. If you don't know what an indigo child is, I suggest you do a very quick Google search. But basically, this is something that was sort of forecasted a long time ago, but someone whose aura is indigo looking or indigo with gold at the top looking. And it's something that I was accused of being many years ago when I was only like 5, and again when I was 7, and again when I was 8. And it's something that I've gotten my whole life wherever I went. People have told me, including people who were not at all psychic according to themselves. They would see me and they say, sorry, it was all I could see was a purple cloud around you. It was kind of purple, blue, and then all I could see was some sort of gold. And I think I must have just stared at that light for too long. I used to get that everywhere I went. As you mature, it can change a little bit, but honestly, very few people in the world are watching this video right now. And there's very few people in the world right now who are indigo children or who are INFJs. I have an inordinate amount of videos about being an INFJ that could help you recognize if you are one. If you're wondering if maybe you are one and you would like to find out and be interviewed by me and be helped through the process of finding out if you are an INFJ, go ahead and contact me by writing something in the comments section, like I'd like to find out if I'm an INFJ, and maybe we can team up and do a live video discovering if you're an INFJ or something else that is new and miraculous in your life. Or maybe you're an indigo child. I think that probably you are. I just have this really strong feeling that you're an indigo child like I am. And yeah, anyways, I love you for being here and I appreciate you and I hope that you have a wonderful, healthy, fantastic day. Be ye well, do as you will, and harm none. And peace out, everybody. Good full moon.